Let's begin with the letter B. Think of the word bus. The first sound that you must make when you say the word bus is b, b. From now on, when you want to remember the sound that the letter B represents, think of the word bus. And also, I want to caution you, there is a tendency on people's part to add too much at the end of these consonant sounds. As an example, many people think the sound that B represents is B. The sound for B is not B, it's B, B. You hear how I've cut the sound off at the end and I have not added the sound So as best you are able to, isolate these consonant sounds as clearly as you can. Now, some of the consonant sounds do require more of an sound at the end in order to articulate those sounds, and I'll point them out to you as we go through the consonant letters. But by and large, remember to, as clearly as you can, pronounce only the consonant sound itself without adding the sound after the initial sound. The next letter is the letter C. Think of the word cat. The first sound that you must make when you say the word cat is k, k. From now on, when you want to remember the sound for the letter C, think of the word cat. And also, I might mention to you, the letter C represents another sound as well as the sound k. And we will get to the second sound of C much later in the program. So for right now, whenever you encounter the letter C in a word in this program, know that it's going to always represent the sound k. The next letter is the letter D. Think of the word dog. The first sound that you must make when you say the word dog is D, D. From now on, when you want to remember the sound for the letter D, think of the word dog. The next letter is the letter F. Think of the word fan. The first sound you must make when you say the word fan is f, f. From now on, when you want to remember the sound for the letter F, think of the word fan. The next letter is the letter G. Think of the word gum. The first sound that you must make when you say the word gum is G, G. From now on, when you want to remember the sound for the letter G, think of the word gum. And also, G, just like the letter C, can represent a second sound. But we will not get to the second sound for the letter G until much later in the program. So at this point, and until you are told otherwise, when you do encounter the letter G in a word in this program, it will always represent the sound G. The next letter is the letter H. Think of the word hat. The first sound that you must make when you say the word hat is h, h. From now on, when you want to remember the sound that the letter H makes, think of the word hat. The next letter is the letter J. Think of the word jet. The first sound that you must make when you say the word jet is j, j. From now on, when you want to remember the sound for the letter J, think of the word jet. The next letter is the letter K. Think of the word kite. The first sound that you must make when you say the word kite is k, k. From now on, when you want to remember the sound for the letter K, think of the word kite. And also, perhaps you've noticed, the letter C and the letter K represent exactly the same sound. K. Now, there is a rule governing when we use C in a word and when we use K in a word to represent the sound K. And we'll get to that rule a little later in the program. but for right now it's enough to know that the letter C and the letter K represent exactly the same sound. And while we're on the sound for K, I want you to know there is a consonant team that also represents the sound K. And this is the first consonant team we're going to be introducing in the program. And the team is the letter C added to the letter K. So when you see the letter CK in a word, then CK is going to form a team. Now, one thing we're going to do in this program is we're going to develop a system of marking words to analyze them for the phonetic components within the words. And the first element of the marking system that we're going to introduce is the fact that we always underline consonant teams. And CK is our first consonant team. So whenever you're writing a word in this program, and I'm going to be doing a lot of dictating of words where I'm going to ask you to spell those words. So whenever I ask you to spell a word which contains CK, you always underline CK. Now, not only is CK our first consonant team, but it also introduces our first spelling rule in the program. And the spelling rule has to do with when you use CK in a word. CK must come directly after a short vowel. That is the only time you can use CK in the spelling of a word. So think of the word rock. In the word rock, we have a short O sound followed by the sound K. And that's why we spell rock R-O-C-K. Now, if you think of the word rake, rake is spelled R-A-K-E. The reason we don't use CK in rake is in front of the letter K is the long A sound, where the A says its name. Now, we haven't begun talking about vowel sounds, but in order to teach you the CK rule, I have to talk about vowel sounds. But for right now, just remember this. You must have a short vowel directly in front of CK in order to use CK in the spelling of a word. If you don't have a short vowel directly in front of the CK team, you can't use the CK team. You're going to have to do something else. You're going to probably use the letter K to represent the sound K. So now we have three ways to represent the sound K. We have the letter C, we have the letter K, and we have the letter team CK. The next letter is the letter L. Think of the word lamp. The first sound that you must make at the beginning of the word lamp is L. L. And notice how you roll your tongue up when you make that sound. L. It's like a carpet that's rolled up. So from now on, when you want to remember the sound that the letter L represents, think of the word lamp. The next letter is the letter M. Think of the word map. The first sound that you must make when you say the word map is mm. Mm. From now on, when you want to remember the sound that the letter M makes, think of the word map. The next letter is the letter N. Think of the word nut. The first sound that you must make when you say the word nut is mm. Mm. From now on, when you want to remember the sound for the letter N, think of the word nut. Now, M and N are nasal sounds in English. We only have three nasal sounds in our language, M, N, and a bit later we'll learn about NG as a team, a consonant team. But they're nasal sounds because when you make the M sound and the N sound, we are actually making the sound come out through our nose. There's a way to prove to yourself that when we make the M or N sound that it's actually coming out our nose. And the way to do that is begin to make the M sound as an example, and once you begin to make the sound, then pinch your nose and see how immediately the sound is cut off. And I'll do that for you right now. And it cuts it right off. So that proves to you then that the the M sound and the N sound are coming out our nose. Now let me contrast that with the F sound. I'm going to pinch my nose and make the F sound. Doesn't make any difference whatsoever because the letter F sound is not coming through the nose. So it's just kind of fun to know that the M and the N are nasal sounds. All right, now we're going to go to the letter P. And for the letter P, I want you to think of the word pot. Now, the first sound that you must make when you say the word pot is P. P. From now on, when you want to remember the sound for the letter P, think of the word pot. The next letter is the letter Q. And with the letter Q, we're going to introduce our second consonant team. Because in English, the letter Q is always followed by the letter U. Now, U normally is thought of as a vowel. However, when the letter Q is followed by the letter U, QU together combine to form a consonant team. And U is not considered to be a vowel when it comes after Q. It's considered to be part of the consonant team QU. So the letter Q is always going to be followed by the letter U. And when we see QU together in a word, we underline it. Because remember, in this marking system we're going to be developing, the first rule is you always underline consonant teams. Now QU as a consonant team represents not one sound, but two sounds combined, K and W. So whenever you see QU, it's going to represent qua, qua, which actually is the K sound and the W sound combined. Think of the word queen. The first two sounds you must make when you say the word queen, those two sounds are qua, qua. So from now on, when you think about Q, always think about QU because it's always going to be a team, QU, and QU is going to represent two sounds combined, qua. The next letter is the letter R. Think of the word rat. The first sound that you must make when you say the word rat is r, r. Now, you know how I told you just a few minutes ago that when you make the consonant sound, you should not add an sound following the consonant sound. And that's true for most consonant letters. However, with the letter R, it's helpful to add a slight sound following the R sound. So when we make the R sound, we go r, r. There's a slight short U sound following the R sound. The next letter is the letter S. Think of the word sun. The first sound that you must make when you say the word sun is S, S. From now on, when you want to remember the sound for the letter S, think of the word sun. Now the letter S represents not one sound, but two sounds. I want you to think of the word nose. Nose is spelled N-O-S-E. And the letter S in the word nose is representing the sound Z. Because if it were making the sound that S makes in sun, the word would be pronounced nose. And it's not nose, it's nose. When the letter S represents its second sound, we're going to double underline the letter S to indicate it's making its second sound. And this is the second element in the marking system that we're introducing. When a letter or a letter team, we'll get to letter teams later in the program, when a letter or letter team represents its second sound, we place two lines under the letter or letter team. So if you come across S in this program with two lines under it, you know that the letter S in that context is representing the sound Z. Also, if I dictate a word to you, such as nose, where the letter S is going to represent its second sound, then you must place two lines under the letter S in those words where S represents its second sound to indicate the letter S is representing its second sound. So the letter S represents not one sound but two. The first sound for the letter S is S, as in sun. The second sound for the letter S is Z, as in nose. The next letter is the letter T. Think of the word tent. The first sound that you must make when you say the word tent is T, T. From now on, when you want to remember the sound for the letter T, think of the word tent. The next letter is the letter V. Think of the word van. The first sound that you must make when you say the word van is V, V. From now on, when you want to remember the sound that the letter V makes, think of the word van. The next letter is the letter W. Think of the word watch. The first sound that you must make when you say the word watch is W, W. From now on, when you want to remember the sound that the letter W represents, think of the word watch. And the letter W is like the letter R in that you really have to pronounce a slight sound at the end of the W sound in order to articulate the sound. So the sound for W has a slight sound at the end. W, W. The next letter is the letter X. Think of the word box. Think of the last two sounds that you hear in the word box. And those two sounds are X, X. Now, if I had to pick one letter where I would predict that an individual might have problem in pronouncing the sound that that letter represents, would definitely be the letter X. The letter X represents not one sound but two sounds combined, K and S. X, X. And also, the letter X comes after the vowel, not before the vowel. When the letter X comes before the vowel, it makes another sound, and we're not going to worry about that sound right now. We're focusing on the primary sound for the letter X, and that is when it comes after the vowel, and when the letter X comes after the vowel, it makes the sound K and the sound S combined. X. And it's the only single consonant letter that we're going to learn that represents not one sound but two sounds. So from now on, when you want to remember the sound for the letter X, think of the last two sounds in the word box, and those sounds are K and S combined. So X equals K and S. X. The next letter is the letter Y. Think of the word yard. The first sound that you must make when you say the word yard is Y, Y. From now on, when you want to remember the sound that the letter Y represents, think of the word yard. And the letter Y also, you must pronounce a slight sound at the end of it in order to be able to articulate that sound correctly. So the Y sound is Y, Y. Finally, we come to the letter Z. Think of the word zebra. The first sound that you must make when you say the word zebra is Z, Z. From now on, when you want to remember the sound that the letter Z represents, think of the word zebra. And this completes the introduction of information regarding the sounds that our consonant letters in English represent.